Loneliness kills, literally. In fact, research tells us that it takes even more lives than obesity. If you're in the 35% of older adults who struggle with loneliness, you're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can overcome loneliness, specifically in retirement. I'm Cyn Meyer, and thank you for being here. It means that you are being proactive about your future. I have dedicated my life's work to helping older adults like you make retirement your best years that are full of purpose and joy and achievements based on passion. To help you engage in the best way for your retirement life, we need to tackle this very important topic of loneliness. Loneliness is a tough thing to deal with. It can creep up on you in a variety of ways, and it has detrimental effects on both your physical and your mental health. It's very important to know that you are not alone when you feel this way. It's very common. You can even feel lonely in a crowd, like if you outgrow your social circles or your relationships need some TLC, for instance. The good news? There are many ways to fight loneliness, which is why we bring you the top 10 ways to combat loneliness in retirement. Number 1, acknowledgement. In a pandemic-touched world, we've all been experiencing at least some degree of both loneliness and social isolation. I want to point out, though, that there's a big difference between the two. Being lonely is different from being isolated. A person can be in the company of others and still feel disconnected emotionally, whereas social isolation is more reclusive with a lack of contact with other people. So the first step in battling loneliness is to 1, admit that you are lonely, and then number 2, make this distinction for yourself. Loneliness is a feeling that many people face, but too often we just don't want to admit it. Like most things in life, the only way to move past it is to acknowledge and accept it instead of denying it altogether. So if you're watching this video and it resonates with you, that is a great sign, and I'm proud of you for seeking ways to combat loneliness. Once you acknowledge how lonely or isolated you are, it's important to plan specific ways that will help break certain bad habits that keep you in the loneliness zone. Which brings us to tip number 2, focus on others. If you want to be able to better connect with other people, this tip is super quick and simple. Instead of focusing on worrying about your own missing pieces in your life, on your insecurities and feelings from negative self-talk, which we all do, focus on other people. It's amazing how quickly this snaps you out of focusing inwardly. It relieves that vicious internal cycle and gives your relationships and your interactions with people a chance to be more reciprocal. Put another way, this means less talking about yourself and more listening to other people, which is not what the average person does. In fact, on average, people spend about 60% of conversations talking about themselves. Your brain is just wired that way, where talking about yourself is intrinsically rewarding and it makes you feel good. If you want other people to be drawn to you, just make this shift in focus by listening to other people and be curious as a way to be friendly. Number 3, prioritize people who share your core values. You know the saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future? It really is true that you are who you spend time with, which is why it is so important to be picky about the people that you let into your circle of influence. I want to point out that there's a big difference between your circle of influence and your circle of concern. Your circle of influence are people who are encouraging and supportive of your growth and your most passionate, ambitious goals, as opposed to the people in your circle of concern who can sadly and easily make up the majority of relationships. These are people who gossip, they stress about the news, and they're a bit trapped in like a fear-based mindset. When you make it a priority to spend time with people in your circle of influence, you will create tight bonds with like-minded people, and the results are life-changing. Number 4, use technology to stay connected. While we're not suggesting you use technology as a crutch, like scrolling Facebook, which is designed to be highly addictive, don't do that, but using a smartphone or a laptop screen to make real-time interactions in addition to your real-life interactions is super helpful. It's natural that your friends and family spread out over time, but that's not a reason to lose touch. I get it, it's not the easiest thing to maintain long-distance relationships, but today, especially after COVID hit, technology makes it a little easier to connect with people remotely, and it's convenient, it's quick, and it's accessible. 2 top platforms that we recommend are FaceTime on your iPhone if you have one, super easy and built into your phone already, or if you're on a computer, Zoom. It's a second great option, and all you need is to download the app once, and from there, you can just click on your meeting links and it will take you straight to the Zoom room. If you're willing to explore technology, you may find some worthwhile ways to keep in touch through live video. For in-person friendships though, tip number 5 is reach out in real life. Aside from making an effort with the people that you already know, look for opportunities to chat with strangers and people in your community as you go about your daily life. It might sound weird to talk to strangers, but you never know what amazing things can come from these simple conversations that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Especially if you listen to your gut and pay attention to the people who naturally spark an interest in you. By the way, if that happens, just speak up. The timing can be as simple as walking around your local neighborhood or doing errands at the grocery store. Anything can spark a conversation. And don't assume that other people don't want to talk to you. We're all stuck in our heads. So it might be a breath of fresh air for someone if you actually reach out and ignite a friendly conversation. You might be surprised, and it might lead to the start of a great friendship, especially if you do that gut check that I talked about and do this with the people that you're naturally attracted to. Another option to stay engaged in your local area is tip number 6, which is get a roommate. Shared housing has recently become very popular, and it can be a great option if you're looking to live independently but not isolated. And here are a few of my favorite examples. HomeShare International has global programs in 16 countries, and they allow 2 people, often between 2 generations, to share their housing lives for a mutual benefit. Natural Shared Housing has a program directory based on location, and it's a resource that gives you support and training for existing home sharing programs. Co-housing is a US-based co-housing association with senior co-housing directories where you can review a list of communities. In case you're interested, I'll leave links to these resources in the comment section below. And if sharing your house with a roommate doesn't sound appealing to you, but you still don't want to live alone, consider our next tip, number 7, get a pet. If you prefer to live alone, I get it. Living alone in my late 20s was probably one of my favorite living situations. If you feel the same way, consider getting a pet to ward off loneliness. Not only will your pet help keep you company, but pets also help reduce stress. Pets can provide comfort by actually producing a chemical reaction in your brain that lowers levels of cortisol and increases levels of serotonin. Increases your social interaction. All those pet-related errands like going to the vet, the groomer, pet store, walks, they'll keep you engaged in the community and help you meet other friends and pet owners. Increases your physical activity. When you exercise your pet and go on walks, you too will have an exercise routine. Lowers blood pressure. The American Heart Association conducted studies that show pet owners have lower blood pressure and smaller increases in heart rate in response to stress, and reduces depression. Your pet can actually give you a sense of meaning and purpose and fill that need to be needed. Offers security. This doesn't go for all animals, but some louder pets can scare off unwanted strangers that might want to rob your house or something, which I hope that never happens to you. Anyway, that's a lot of benefits that come with inviting a friendly animal to live with you. If you want something less permanent in your house, tip number 8 might be up your alley. Sign up for home visits. There are several in-home care services that provide companionship and volunteer visits as part of their service. I want to be clear, this doesn't mean that you are not independent. Just because you sign up for an in-home care service for companionship does not mean that you can no longer handle your activities of daily living. These organizations offer a wide variety of options, so it's important to not be intimidated by the experience. You can check out friendly services like Friendship Works or Friend to Friend America, in addition to the local in-home care services that are in your area. If these official programs aren't your cup of tea, that's fine. Consider hosting some guests at your house. Invite friends, family, neighbors, people over for a meal, or even like a fun activity. The point here is to welcome people into your home and don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Try something new that could greatly benefit your social life. And speaking of trying something new, if you're willing to explore options outside of the home, we have tip number 9 for you. Join a club or a class. By joining a club or a class, it'll up your chances of meeting like-minded people where you can connect over common interests. I must warn you though, it's very important to find clarity on the interests and passions that are right for you. before you exert any energy signing up for something that someone else suggested or an idea that came from external places outside of you. I see this happen all the time where people put themselves out there and join activities that aren't really a good fit, and then they get unmotivated to try anything else. If you need help finding clarity, please check out our video on finding clarity, because it is a critical first step before you take any steps outside and engage. Once you have a clear understanding of your true interests and passions and purpose, then it's time to put yourself out there and engage with the world to find those like-minded people. Do it in that order, and believe me, it is worth it. I have seen people soar and become so successful and energized by the organizations, the events, the classes, and the people that they decide to engage with once the ideas come from them. Just like your career and your job is different from your friends and your family members, your interests and your passions and purpose are too. And finally, our tip number 10 for today is volunteer. Volunteering can be the perfect antidote for loneliness. It is an amazing way to help others and contribute your help. And it's also good for your health. Studies show that volunteerism reduces feelings of isolation and it builds self-esteem. The best part is that you don't need any special skills or resources. I might sound like a broken record here, and I'm okay with that because it's important. Make sure you have clarity first before you blindly join volunteer organizations that are either popular, that people suggest, because you won't fully be fulfilled and they won't naturally align with who you are at the core. I see this again all the time where people sign up for volunteer gigs and it's a friend suggestion or it's popular and it's not a great fit and they get unmotivated. So clarity comes from the inside, and it's the only way to give back in a way that gifts you with a strong sense of purpose. All it takes is some time, dedication, and willingness to learn new things. And there are plenty of opportunities out there waiting for someone just like you, which is someone who is unique with specific ways to best help others. So find that unique volunteer opportunity and try some of our other 9 tips today, and let's fight this loneliness epidemic together. Thank you for joining us and for being proactive just by watching this video. We put out content to help you take specific action, so please try our tips today, build momentum, and help spread our movement of shifting our culture where older adults are out there living their best years and accomplishing their most meaningful goals. I believe this is what the world needs, for you to share your unique gifts. So thank you, and please help us spread our mission. Like, subscribe, and comment on this video so that we can continue to help older adults live their best life. Stay tuned for next week.